What's up, everybody? Welcome to the set with T-stead. Man, listen, this is big news today. Big splash report. I don't normally do this. This is not typically what happens here on this set. I don't really do many live reactions. Just a few times throughout the season, but the Miami Dolphins just fired head coach Mike McDaniel, my former head coach, Mike McDaniel, this morning, in shocking breaking news. So I'm here now to give my reaction, just to share my thoughts on the entire situation, share my thoughts on Mike McDaniel as a head coach, and give my gratitude to him and our time that we spent together. First, I will like to just read off this statement from Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins. Mr. Ross said, "After careful evaluation and extensive discussion since the season ended, I have made the decision that our organization is in need of a comprehensive change. I informed Mike McDaniel this morning that he will be relieved of his duties as head coach. I love Mike, and I want to thank him for his hard work, commitment, and energy he brought to our organization. Mike is an incredible creative football mind whose passion for the game and his players was evident every day. I wish him and his family the best moving forward." I know firsthand how much Stephen Ross appreciates, loves, really, really great, strong relationship with Mike. So I know I'm shocked at this move this morning off that alone. Like, those two had a great relationship. Stephen Ross is not an owner that's in the building every day. He's not super involved in the day-to-day operation of the Miami Dolphins. He has people in place to handle certain parts and components of the organization and in the way that the franchise operates. So, but anytime that he would be around, him and Mike were super tight. We're close, we're tight. And the same with Stephen Ross and Chris Greer. That was his guy, for sure. So I'm shocked at the movement, the change, and the changes that is being made. Mike McDaniel just recently put out a statement as well in response to him being relieved of his duties. And Money Mike said, coaching this team and being a part of this great franchise has been the honor of a lifetime. He said, "When I took this job, I had a vision of a team that was bonded together and played with passion and energy on the path to winning championships. I gave everything I had for that goal. I am disappointed, especially for the fans, that we did not have better results on the field, but I am grateful for every coach, player, and staff member who poured themselves into that vision alongside me. I love this game, the people and the relationships that are a part of it, and I will forever cherish my time in Miami." Those are the words from former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. Man, I can only imagine Mike's mind right now and his emotions, handling everything that has transpired over the last day. Through a lot of conversation with Mr. Ross and Tom Garfinkel and the team that they have assembled in pursuit of finding their new GM and now new head coach. Mike is a very, very passionate person. He could be emotional and expressive. Like, at times we've seen Mike be vulnerable, be open and transparent. And that was one of the things we appreciated about him as a player, that he was super candid and would allow us as a team to see how he really felt. He had no problem sharing his thoughts, sharing information, sharing his feelings. So you never really had to guess with Mike, because he was open and he would tell you. I'm shocked at the move. because most times postseason, it's immediate firing and those changes are, damn near right after that last game. I even saw reports of Mike talking about being a part of the GM search for the Miami Dolphins and now being out as a head coach. Some days later, that's what shocked me, because it wasn't immediate. Like, I thought if the Dolphins were making a move, it would be kind of the same timeline as the other coaches that have been relieved of their duties. But when Mike was not let go after the game, boom, they're about to run the whole operation back, give him another opportunity, another year to see if they can, go to the playoffs and make something happen in the playoffs. It's oddly enough at this day. So it's Thursday, January 8th, and I'm doing this reaction. I have an episode of the set dropping with Aaron Brewer later today, the standout center for the Miami Dolphins. And in the episode, we talked about Mike McDaniel as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins moving forward. So it's kind of interesting when you guys see that video later today. That was recorded prior to today. So before Mike was relieved of his duties. And like I say, it's a shock. It's going to be a shock to Aaron Brewer, the center, and other players as well, as they did not anticipate this. I did not anticipate this at all either. One interesting thing that I've seen online on timeline on X is from King of Finland. King of Finland yesterday, about 16 hours ago, right now, from where I am right now, it's 11:45 in the morning, Central Time. King of Finland on X, he put out a timeline. And on his timeline, January 5th, 2026, Dolphins Social released full list of GM interview candidates, which included 7 names. January 5th, the Dolphins listed the GM candidates. There were 7 names. January 6th, John Harbaugh was fired from the Baltimore Ravens. January 6th, later that day, Chargers assistant GM Chad Alexander, who worked with John Harbaugh for 11 years in Baltimore, is now added to the GM interview list. January 7th, Dolphins released the candidates who have made it to the second round of those interviews. 4 candidates, 1 including Chad Alexander, who's the assistant GM for the Chargers, was with John Harbaugh in Baltimore for 11 years. That's January 7th, yesterday. January 8th, Dolphins announced Chad Alexander is one of 2 GM candidates that interviewed in person today. That's January 8th, earlier today. And following that, later today, well, since that in-person interview, the Miami Dolphins relieved head coach Mike McDaniel of his duties. Now, I don't know Chad Alexander. I don't know any of these GM candidates outside of Champ Kelly, who is the interim GM for the Miami Dolphins right now. Somebody that I am a big fan of, big supporter of. I know the entire team is, and the entire organization is. That don't mean that he's getting the job or will get the job, whatever. We'll see. But I don't know any of these candidates. I don't know nothing about Chad Alexander, his history with John Harbaugh, any of this. This entire timeline is from King of Finland on Twitter, on X. I just found it very interesting the way that he pieced this timeline together. It raised room for discussion. Is Miami positioning itself, the franchise, for head coach John Harbaugh to be the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins? That's what this timeline suggests. Now, it can be complete speculation. It can be coincidental. I have no idea. But just looking at the timeline, it's my first time seeing it. A few minutes before I jumped on to give my reaction, and it's interesting. So it raised discussion. Now, when you talk about head coach John Harbaugh, he's a Super Bowl champion. So if you're looking for, that's the goal. That's the goal of every franchise. To win the big one, to win the big dance. And there's only a few coaches that exist that has done that, that has that on their resume, that's still coaching today, and that's available. So John Harbaugh would be the one guy in this head coaching carousel right now that has proven to win the big dance. So I'm not even making this reaction video to get into that part of it. Like, if Harbaugh is the coach, what does that mean for the Dolphins, or whoever's the coach? I'm here right now to express my thoughts on the Dolphins letting go Mike McDaniel. And I'll say, for me, Terron Armstead, left tackle, number 72 for the Miami Dolphins, for 3 years under head coach Mike McDaniel. He got there in 22. I came in 22. Same day we traded for Tyreek Hill, and we all do our press conference together that day, that off season. And I want to first and foremost say thank you to head coach Mike McDaniel. Thank you. I greatly appreciate you for the opportunity, for the belief, for allowing me to come down and be one of the captains of the team, to be a part of creating some special moments, special energy that we had down in Miami. Ultimately, we didn't get the job done. We failed. Collectively, we did. But collectively, we created moments, memories, relationships, things that will forever be remembered and embedded in my life and many, many others, fans, players. So for that and much more, thank you. I appreciate you for all of it, every single moment. When I came down to Miami in 2022, I was the number 1 rated free agent in the NFL, top dog. And I'm going on talking to teams, and I come down for a visit to Miami before I put pen to paper. And I sat and I talked with Mike for hours in the office, and he shared his vision, and he was able to illustrate it in a way that was like, it was intense and exciting and visual. Like, he's using words, but it's visual. Like, I can see it. I can see the picture that he's trying to paint and that he was trying to create and go do. And we were able to execute on a lot of it. Ultimately, like I say, we were not able to get it done. We weren't able to bring a playoff win to the Miami Dolphins fan base and the franchise. And that's the biggest stain that I leave the game with with my time in Miami. Not getting that done for the fans as badly as I personally wanted to, and I know that Mike and others wanted to. We did not get that done. And the NFL comes down to that. It comes down to results. It comes down to production. And Mike been the head coach for 4 years in Miami. Couple playoff appearances. No playoff wins. Some big moments. Number 1 rated offense. Top rated run game at times. We had moments. We had stats. We had players that have been their best version of themselves. Tua, I'm sure Tua would get on and express gratitude for Mike and the things that he was able to do in his career, building his confidence, building that complete belief in him, from himself within and then throughout the franchise and then throughout the NFL and the football world. It wasn't all easy. It wasn't always smiles and handshakes. There was some tough conversations in there too, but one thing that I will say and I appreciate about Mike is he never shied away from the bad shit. He never shied away from the tough times, the tough losses, the tough questions, losing streaks. He didn't shy away from it. And I appreciate that from him for sure. He stood tall. He took the bumps and bruises along with the praise and the highlights that we were able to generate. He now enters into this head coaching carousel and looking around at some of these teams that have a lot of offensive firepower, the Atlanta Falcons, the New York Giants. You see these teams, and those two specifically, as a spot that I can see Mike. I can see Mike in Atlanta. I can see Mike in New York with the Giants running that offense and bringing those weapons that they have to a new light. I can also see Mike, if he chooses to do so, if the fit is right, as an OC. If he's taking time away from being a head coach and he want to focus on offense and focus on perfecting that side of the ball, there's endless opportunities. Endless opportunities for Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator immediately. Like somebody would remove their current offensive coordinator for Mike to be the OC today. No question about it. There were things throughout our time there that I had a hard time understanding and getting used to because of the regime I came from. I was with Sean Payton for 9 years, so I'm coming over to Mike McDaniel where it's more of an open forum and it's more discussion, it's more sharing of information. Where Sean was probably the opposite of that. At a point, Sean became more open to a lot of conversation too later on in our tenure together, but Mike was different. He approached it different, and we saw success, especially early, those first 2 years. And then you saw a lot of bumps in the road and challenges and hardships too, his last 2 years. So, yeah, I don't really want to go too much further than that in this. Just, I read off Stephen Ross, his words. I read off Mike's words. I read off the timeline from King of Finland on Twitter. And then I just shared my gratitude, appreciation for Mike and our time together, what he did down in Miami and what he tried to accomplish. It didn't come to fruition. And which is why we're here today, result-based business, production-based business. It comes down to it. It comes down to wins and losses, especially when you talking playoffs and division titles and all those things. So that's why we're here today. So to Money Mike and Mike McDaniel and his family, salute. Appreciate you. To the fans up and the Dolphins Miami Dolphins fan base, the community, for the franchise. It's a lot of work that will have to be done this offseason to make get the Dolphins in position to compete. They got to figure out what they're doing at the quarterback spot with Tua. If Tua's gonna be the guy and fully support him and build around him, or if they are making a change there. And we're in the playoffs right now, but this offseason will be quick for the Dolphins. Like, this offseason will feel like it flew by because of so much activity, so much change already happening. So this offseason for the Dolphins will feel like 2 weeks. For everybody else, it'll be 6 months, 5 months, 6 months. But for the Dolphins, it'll feel like 2 weeks because it's a lot of people that need to be caught up and a lot of changes and new regime and new. So it'll be interesting to see. The Dolphins organization, Tom Garfinkel, Stephen Ross, those guys know anything I can ever do, whatever, mentoring, coaching up, technique, scouting, whatever, anything I can ever do to help the Dolphins organization moving forward, I'm here. No problem at all. No questions asked. It's done. So, yeah. Appreciate you all, man. Thank you for tuning in to the set. Always. Episode with Aaron Brewer will be dropping really soon. Make sure you check that out. We talked about a lot. Talked about Tua, Mike McDaniel, his season, being a snub from the Pro Bowl, and how that affected him, all those things. So be on the lookout. Be tuned in. I appreciate you all. T-stead. I'm out.